Your reactions to this development, Mr. Dion, you raised.
Well, that's the responsibility of the Afghan government. We're there to help them. It's up to the Afghan government to deal with this, and the role of Canada is to help. But we need a cautious Prime Minister. Mr. Harper is reckless. He wanted to go into war in Iraq, but he couldn't explain in 5 words. He had to use the words of the Australian Prime Minister. Mr. Harper tells us now that he's going to meet the deadline of 2011. He doesn't even comply with his own legislation. We know he can change his mind just as he wishes, if it suits him. He's done that on so many issues. If we want a deadline for 2011 to comply with it, then we need a Prime Minister we can believe in.
On this negotiation with the Taliban, please.
This is not completely new. The Afghan government has made local efforts and attempts from time to time in the past to reconcile with the Taliban. President Karzai is looking to develop political reconciliation and debate in a democratic system rather than debating with weapons. And that's a critical part of his program. And I support him.
Well, it's interesting to hear Mr. Harper now on these issues. When we suggested a peace process, negotiations, he had all kinds of comments from you and your team, very negative comments. When we suggested ending the mission, cut and run, George Bush's words. So you're supporting these two things now. So we're talking about offering a different approach. That's the best way, an approach that I want to pursue if I have an opportunity to become Prime Minister of this country.
Ms. May and then Mr. Giuseppe.
The Afghan government has many problems with corruption, with drugs, with many other issues, and President Karzai also has problems because the NATO mission, unfortunately, caused innocent civilian deaths. So we have to work towards peace, and you cannot achieve peace without dialogue. It is a potentially very positive development. But we have to guard against corruption and the other things that weaken the Afghan state.
I think this is up to the Karzai government to decide for itself what type of diplomacy they wish to employ. If they want to have contacts to reach a good result, that's fine. It's not up to us. It's not for us to tell him how to go about it. But Canada's policy in the world is a choice as well between militarism like Bush and Harper or an attitude that's more humanitarian. The objective of reaching 0.7% of GDP in overseas development assistance, well, unfortunately, we've fallen behind. We're at 0.27%, I think. If the economy is doing better, as Mr. Harper says, why are we doing less in terms of development assistance? If we don't help these people, then obviously, eventually, we're developing areas where terrorism is going to flourish. That doesn't justify terrorism, but that's what creates a breeding ground for terrorism. When people don't have food in their bellies.
On that issue?
I agree with the proposal, and that's why we suggested if I become Prime Minister, we will withdraw our troops immediately and use the money available to increase our foreign aid to help with these projects to fight poverty.
So, Mr. Harper raised his hand, so please go ahead.
Yes, let's be clear. Our mission in Afghanistan is not only a military mission. There's a significant portfolio for humanitarian aid, and as is in the case in Haiti. But we need to remember that the mission in Afghanistan is a UN mission, supported by almost every country in the world, supported by both parties in the US, supported by both political parties in Great Britain, and supported by the President of France. We're working together with the international community, not only in terms of defense and military efforts, but also in development and humanitarian support.
The reason why Mr. Duceppe will never be Prime Minister is given what you just said.
Mr. Layton.
Well, for a different reason. But one of the reasons... I'm sorry, you mean Mr. Hart? You don't mean Mr. Duceppe. I don't. Mr. Harper clarified that we're leaving in 2011. Look, we made the commitment. Our allies are counting on us. The Karzai government is counting on us. By 2011, we have to do everything we can to help the country. It's our responsibility, just as we've assumed responsibility for Kyoto. So what we're going to do, and we'll do it openly. And something else which is missing from your government is transparency. You won't even tell us how much it costs to respond.
So, Mr. Layton, could you respond? And then for the figures, we'll turn to Mr. Harper.
The difference between you and I